Guys, here's part 2 of things that I do not really like about living in Asia. Number 8. So my number 8 is the double-edged sword of uniqueness here in Asia. This will be another video, but like in depth about like more about this. But in my experience, white is right. Okay. So a lot of times, this doesn't happen to me as much now. Especially since I've gotten my haircut. I don't know what the shift was. I don't know. Because when I lived in Korea, I didn't have my haircut like this. So I don't know. Anyway, so obviously like I look different than everybody else, right? Like, cause most of Asia is homogeneous, like societies. I would say like save maybe like Singapore, because they have like Malay people and, you know, Chinese people and Indian people and, you know, everybody's Singaporean. And being in like a homogeneous society, when people are different, you notice, you know? And so part of it is like, I get pretty decent pay, right? I get to do some jobs that some people, not that they don't get to do, but the rules for me to do the job is different than like a local. You know, there are benefits, basically. There are privileges to being a Western foreigner, okay? But also in my experience, sometimes, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, right? So one half is like, yeah, you're making good money. You can like experience all these new cultures and foods and because you don't live in your home country anymore. It's all these like pleasant things, right? But then on the other side of that, it is difficult to make friendships, like true friendships. I mean, that's in general, but I feel like it's even harder here a lot of times because you, especially being like a younger person too, because like you'll meet people and you're like, wow, this person seems so nice, and it's so surface level because they just want a foreign friend. They want to tell their other, like whatever country they're from, friends that they know a foreigner and that they can talk to a foreigner like this. And when I first heard that, I thought it was like, no, they're not really like that. And not everyone is like this. Let me say that I have genuine, true friends that I talk to for years in these countries. But en masse, the people that I met was so surface level. It was like, oh, did you meet Morgan? Yeah, she's so cool. Like, oh, hey, you know, like, what do I do if this happens? Blah, blah, blah. And then blah, blah, blah is like, why don't you ask your job? Like, no help, no nothing. But like when we're out chilling, having dinner, that's like, okay, yeah, I'm your friend, girl. We're besties. But any extra effort to get to know someone or to help someone, en masse, it happens so often. And then one of my friends was telling me that she met a Taiwanese girl. She like not super young, but like maybe late 20s. Okay. And so she was like, here I am messaging this girl all the time. We're talking all the time. We're like hanging out. Cool. She was like, and then all of a sudden she stops talking to her. And she's like, why did you stop talking to me? Like, what did I do? Like, was it like something I said, or, you know, like, cause sometimes cultural differences, you're like, what'd you just say to me? And the girl's like, no, nothing. You know, you didn't do anything. It's just, you know, I have some different friends now. And turns out she really wanted white foreign friends. She didn't want a black foreign friend. Because it looks better for her to know white people than it does for her to know black people. It was very weird, very strange interaction. But I've also had that happen. When I would go out, I would have these like Taiwanese people, or often Korean people too, like not here in Taiwan, but like when I lived there, and they'd be like, oh my God, this hip hop song's my favorite. Do you know how to twerk? Can you teach me how to twerk? Oh my God, because that's all black women do, you know? We just walk around clapping our ass. Like, no, that's not what we do. What are you talking about? It has been some crazy experiences. So it's definitely a double-edged sword when it comes to trying to make genuine friendships and things like that. Second thing is when you want to do things that involve money, there is this perception that since you're a foreigner, you have more money, especially if you're American. Like, I've heard this so much because I'm American. People will be like, oh, you got it. You can pay for it. You can do it. And I'm like, no, I'm still poor here. Like, because when I moved to Korea, I was supporting 2 households. Like, my mother was still alive. So like, I was paying those bills back home and I was paying my new bills while I lived in Korea. And I'm like, I don't have money to do those things. Or like, if we would go to like a market or something, sometimes people would charge me higher than they would someone else. And I was like, what is happening right now? And they were like, oh, it's because you're a foreigner. Wait, Gukin, why go in? Like, you have money. That's the perception. And I'm like, sometimes that's true, but that still doesn't make it okay for you to overcharge me. And like, like, it's, yeah. So that's my number 9. I realize this segment is a little long. Sorry. Oh no, this is number 8. Right, this is number 7. This one is a little bit of a touchy topic. So if anything like bothers you or something, you can turn it off. It's okay. But I feel like it should be talked about. This will also be another video with other foreigners, so you will realize that it's not just like a me thing. Anyway, number 7 is the undercover racism. That's here. And I will be posting like pictures like behind me to kind of illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. And I will start this off by saying this is not about every single person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, every single person does not hold these beliefs, or even make laws like toward these people and whatever. Like, this is not a general, like, this is just a general statement based off my experiences and things I have seen and heard. Like, it's not a hearsay thing. It's literally, I've experienced it. So this is from my point of view. This is not specifically like calling out a specific person, blah, blah, blah. So if it offends you, try not to take it personally, because like, maybe I'm not talking about you, you know what I mean? But like, if the shoe fits, maybe change your shoes. So anyway, the undercover racism, so I'm from the US and we have a terrible problem with racism, like, for sure. Like, the base of our society, like the foundation is based on killing people. So like, you know what I mean? In my experience from home, I am used to very overt racism. Yeah, I'm used to like people being like kind of in your face about it. But when I moved to Asia, the racism was different. And at first I didn't really know how to deal with that, because like, for me, being a newbie, living abroad and things like that, I was a little bit like, oh my God, these people are super nice, da, 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 da. And then like a month later, you hear them talking about like, oh, is she African? Oh, like they don't know you, right? Or whatever. But this is their perception of you and how they, not based on anything. It's just racism, because racism's stupid, right? We know this. So anyway, I've noticed, like I said in another video, that especially in East Asia, I've seen it a little bit in Southeast Asia as I've traveled, but white is like the epitome of what they like. A lot of countries, I would have to avoid buying certain products because it has like all these whitening creams in it. And I'm like, I like being brown. I like my skin, So some things I cannot buy because it's so prevalent in everything, and like in creams, in lotion, in body wash, in shampoo. I was like, do you need to bleach your scalp? Anyway, like, and then it also turns into, this is going to be the next video. It also turns into ways to discriminate against people and in their employment and things like that. In my experience, a lot of people assume that I am South African. I don't know what that is. I don't know why. But one of my South African friends said it's because of my body shape. I guess that people assume that I'm South African, because I've had other South Africans also assume that. So I'm guessing like maybe. Anyway. And so one of my like weirdest experiences was in India. And like, I'm pretty light skinned, right? Like, I'm not fair skinned, but I'm not like, I'm like a caramel macchiato color, you know? But everywhere I went, people were aggressive with me because they thought I was African. And it was this like, whoa. But then they'd be like, where are you from? Like, not necessarily all up in my face, but they'd be like, where are you from? Because like the way that they say it was like, you better answer. And I'm like, I'm American. You know what I mean? Immediately you'll see this like relaxed kind of thing. And it wasn't everybody. Again, this is not every single person I ran into was like, are you African? Like, no, it wasn't that. But when we would go somewhere, and also my friend, my Indian friend that was with me, she is mixed. She's Black and Indian. And so when we were together, people assumed both of us were foreigners. And she was like, I was born here. I like speak all these languages. Like, I'm from here. And it really bothered her that people were assuming, you know, things like that. Like, I get it. For me, I was like, this is a normal question for me. But when I was not with her, the aggressiveness was like up a notch. And I was like, yo. Because like before, I didn't used to cut my hair like this. I didn't used to have the designs and whatever. I would just like cut it. It would just be like cut. And I remember somebody accusing me of like, I couldn't be a teacher because of the way my hair looked. And I was like, okay, well, they don't have a problem with it. So what the fuck I get what you got to say? What? Yeah. And even in China, like people would, when I started learning Chinese, like when I was finally figuring out what people were saying around me, people would be saying like, oh, she has to be African because like my hair was on like an afro and whatever. Like when I first got my sides cut, I didn't have anybody braid my hair yet. And people were just like, you have to be African. I was like, what's wrong with being African? Like, even if I was, you know what I mean? Like, you don't, that's not okay for you to treat me like that or treat anybody like that. Like, what? It baffled me. Like, even for me, with one of my old jobs, I found out through somebody else who worked there, they were like, and not in a mean way, but they just wanted me to know because they were like, cause I'm a very friendly person. So I'm just like one of those people that are like, hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. And the person was like, you should like tone that down a bit because these people don't really care about you like at all. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? But she wasn't saying it to be mean. She was saying it for me to protect myself, essentially. Because basically she overheard a conversation because she was there before I was. So basically she overheard the conversation about me being hired. And basically the principal at the school was like, I don't really want a Black teacher here is what she said. And the person who told me was like, you know, like obviously she's not supposed to be hearing this. So she's just like, huh? Like what the? And then somebody else was like, oh, but she's American though, because the principal thought I was African, which again, it does not matter. Like if I'm qualified, I'm qualified. And so when she was like, but she's American, like, you know, she went to this school, da da da. And the principal was still kind of like, I don't really know how that looks for our image, you know, like the parents want blonde hair, blue eyes, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, yo. But they wound up hiring me anyway. And I don't know the reason, what like turned the tables for them to like in my favor kind of thing. I don't know. But yeah, I wound up working there for a while. And yeah, it was when I was getting ready to leave, I told the other coworkers, I was like, you guys are probably not going to have another Black teacher for years. Like, because she didn't want me to be here. You know what I mean? But then it was so crazy because once I started working there, I was in the forefront of everything. Every photo shoot, they were like, come on, ask Morgan, she'll do it. I'm like, what? Who told you that? Because when the parents would see me and see how the kids interacted with me, like for them, it was despite of the way my hair was and whatever, they see that their kids really like my class. Their kids really love being around me, whatever. The parents wanted to see me all the time. And I guess the principal was like, wow, let's use that. So instead of the blonde hair, blue eyed, like now I'm on trend. You know what I mean? And it's weird because then and the other part of that is like for me being a Western foreigner, especially in Taiwan, and I will put pictures to kind of illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. How they treat people who are not Western foreigners, like from the 7 countries, like Canada, the US, freaking UK, like this, like these kind of places that are like predominantly like English speaking, like, you know, and the other people who come here to work and to study and things like that, they get these unfair rules put against them for literally no other reason than because of where they come from. Not because of their qualifications, not because of them like doing something or having something on their record. None of those things. It's literally just an undercover racism that is disguised in law. And it is, a lot of times it's sickening. And I'm not the only person who thinks that. And oftentimes it takes for a rallying cry about like, hey, that's not okay, for it to change for them. And it's so, it makes me sad, because it's like you're missing out on so many like good people, like for your children, for your students, for your country, because of this foolish and, you know, like thinking. And yeah, so that's the number 7 for me. I don't know how long this video is gonna be. I'm gonna check. All right, guys, see you next time. Make sure you check out the next segment of the top 10 things that I don't really like about living in Asia. I don't know when it's coming out. Pay attention to the dates. I will put it down somewhere.